Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 30th of December. I'm Derek Clark, and to join me to discuss yesterday's poor display at Fir Park, Chris Jack joins us. How's it going, Chris?
Poor is one word. I'm sure there's stronger words with asterisks in them that people will use in the chat. Not good, as I'm sure we'll dissect over the next half an hour or so. But apart from events at Fir Park and on Boxing Day, it's been a good couple of days, and I've enjoyed the festive period. So, how's things your end? All good?
Hunky dory. I've managed to. You now know, folks. I'm back on the laptop, not the original laptop that was on the treatment table. After I suffered a wee bit of water damage the other day there. So, that laptop has gone to lappy heaven, and I have now had to purchase another one. But we're back in the game, shall we say. I can see the comments, so I'm sure I'll be firing up a few of those during the course of the show. But let's get stuck right in. Now, I know that Stevie and Joshua were on the post-match reaction show yesterday to discuss the 2-2 draw at Fir Park against Motherwell, and they covered it quite extensively. We'll discuss more on that and other bits and pieces of news surrounding Rangers during the course of this show. But Rangers falling 14 points behind Celtic now, Chris, heading into that Old Firm game on Thursday at Ibrox. They were 2-0 down, of course. Substitutions were made at halftime again. Hamza Igaman, Václav Černý coming on and sort of salvaging the situation from where it was to a position where they were able to level matters. But with certainly a substantial amount of time left on the clock, they were unable to find a winner, and it's more dropped points on the road. It's more pressure being applied to Philip Clement, and he still hasn't found a way to beat teams away from home domestically. The away form is scandalous at this moment in time. Rangers have dropped a gargantuan amount of points on their travels this season. At home is very much different. They're joint top, 25 points acquired from 27. Away from home, he just simply hasn't got the answer. And it looks like his time as Rangers manager, for me, Chris, won't be lasting much longer, because this simply cannot continue.
You touched on the away form in general there, Derek, and I thought the first half in Paisley the other day there was utterly dreadful. I thought Rangers cannot be that bad again when you're looking for a reaction, when you need a performance, when you need a result. It was very much a case of hold my beer at Fir Park yesterday, because it was just as bad. Absolutely nothing about Rangers in an attacking sense at all. And you then combine that with individual mistakes that the manager put it down to, but just a real lack of anything in that squad and in that team yesterday. When you combine how poor they are going forward with how poor they are defensively, it's no surprise that you go in at halftime 2-0 down. Perhaps fortunate to only be 2-0 down, and look at the second half. They do well. They give a bit of credit for being able to come back, and Igaman is obviously the saviour. Gets the two goals, but those goals come. Motherwell have their own chances. There's the VAR controversies. There's the Butland incident. Motherwell had chances. Motherwell could easily have won that. Could easily have won that game. We could have been sitting here this morning talking about almost the exact carbon copy of the St Mirren game, playing really poorly, losing the goal, getting back into it, and then losing a late sucker punch. Rangers very fortunate that they didn't lose that game yesterday. So the manager is, as you touched on there, is under, I was going to say huge pressure, but I think it's beyond that now. People know how this ends. People know how this unfolds. If you don't, you've not really been paying attention at Rangers over recent seasons. This is not the first time that we've seen this. This is not the first time that this situation has unfolded, and it's very much a case of when rather than now for Clement. Obviously, all attention's on the Old Firm game on Thursday, but I think we spoke on one of the shows last week about the chance to go to St Mirren, to go to Motherwell, to build a wee bit of momentum, to then win the Old Firm game, and how different the league table would look. Well, it's going to look very, very different to that potentially after Thursday. Rangers now staring at just a huge, huge gap at the top of the Premiership.
Yeah, it's got to the point now where, we said before, prior to these two matches, that the potential, if they negotiated the two trips to St Mirren and Motherwell, that they had the chance, if Celtic had taken maximum points from their games, to go 6 points behind. And then we're thinking, could the title race be back on? But it almost doesn't matter if you beat Celtic now. It's a dead rubber for me, this Old Firm game, Chris. The second Old Firm game of the season, Celtic can afford to play their youth team if they want and rest their entire squad if they like, because if they do lose, it's down to 11 points, and that's still way too. It's way too much to make back at this stage of the season, and they've got the potential. I'd imagine they won't do that. They will look at this situation, and with prospect of really putting the final nail in the coffin of Philippe Clement's tenure as Rangers manager, and can go 17 points clear. That is mad.
I think you look at that centre half pairing yesterday and the mistakes that were made, how easy Rangers were to play through, to play against, the manner of the goals that they conceded. If you're Celtic, you are thinking there's huge chances for us there, and they have the quality to go and exploit that Rangers side if they so choose, if they so can. They will come to Ibrox fully expecting to win the game. There's no fear factor there now for Celtic in these fixtures, because their record in them of late is just so impressive. There's an interview with James Tavernier on the site at 12 o'clock, and on the YouTube channel at 12 o'clock, when I actually ask him about that Old Firm mentality. And I think Rangers are now back in the situation where pre-Steven Gerrard in 2018, Celtic just have their number in every single aspect, in the dugout, in terms of the squad, in terms of starting 11, and certainly in terms of that fear factor. This holds no trepidation for Celtic. They will see it, as you outlined there, as a huge chance to go put down a real marker, extend the gap, head into their own January run with huge confidence. Rangers are heading into their January run not even sure who the manager's going to be.
Yeah, it's a mess. It really is. Lots of comments coming in, as you can imagine. Let's get to a few of them. This I wanted to bring up because we've got a clip of Clement in his post-match press conference. Again, folks, I know that some of you issues with the noise levels. We've bunged up full bung, so hopefully you can hear what he has to say. But he was quizzed on his Rangers' future following the draw yesterday. And a comment coming in here from Stevino. He says, Derek, he's thrown the players under a bus because of previous results. It's just all deflection. So play what Clement had to say in that post-match press conference. Let's get it up here. As if by magic, it'll just pop up on the screen.
Yes, they made a really clear statement about that already in the beginning of the season, and now also with the people involved. Yes.
Do you think nothing has changed there?
Do you think with another manager we would not have made mistakes today defensively? Was it a problem that the structure of the team was not good? So those are things that a board needs to decide.
Thanks, Adam.
Please.
So that is one of the answers that Philippe Clement had responded to a question with regards to his future, and that point from Stevino there, Chris, just talking about would another manager come in, would those mistakes not happen? Don't necessarily like going down that avenue, really. You hear folks, sometimes managers, when they're under pressure, saying you won't find anyone else that can get a tune out of these players. I think they would be able to find a manager that can get results on the road. They're certainly lacking grit, fight. They're not up for the physical battle when they go to these venues, and he's not able to find a solution to that. As Scott Swelder says, the vast majority of us know the issues. What are the solutions? Well, certainly when the team was announced yesterday, it raised one or two eyebrows. I don't think there was anyone that was confident that in that Rangers team that would go out there and do the business at Fir Park. And as I touched on earlier, substitutions were made at half-time. No, I know he's touched on sports science and there's question marks over how much influence they have at Rangers. At the end of the day, the manager picks the team. He'll be judged on that. And it was the wrong team yesterday.
It was. And I think the fears that people had pre-match, myself and Josh spoke on the pre-match show, and I think the name Kieran Dowell was obviously a major talking point, but so was Cortés coming in, so was Dessers coming in. I think as I asked the manager about that in the post-match press conference, and he started and I talked about Balogun as obviously an enforced change to the starting lineup from the other night. He mentioned Yanis Hadji having a fever, so you can. These are situations that come up. I said to Josh on the show I wasn't against Oscar Cortés starting. I think he should have had minutes before now rather than just pitching him in from the start. But I think if you take the sports science aspect away from it, almost it just highlights how poor this Rangers squad is when your squad options. So again, the manager mentioned post match, would he have liked to have started Igaman and Cherney? Of course he would. But what does it say when you have to call on them 45 minutes in, like you had to do a couple of days ago with Rico Raskin having to come on and Danilo to come on? Is the squad that poor? Now, the manager says you can't rely on 13, 14 players. Right now he has to, because he only has 13, 14 players that are actually capable of getting results. And it's the 13, 14 players that have got those results and put in an improved level, not a great level, not a really, really high level, a slightly improved level over recent weeks. What does it say about the likes of Kieran Dowell, the likes of Dessers, that they are not at the level to help Rangers beat Motherwell away? They were given their chance, didn't take it, hooked after 45 minutes. The guys that replaced them then make a big impact. I say, what does that say about the level that they're operating at? This squad is nowhere near good enough. On the day, Rangers can field a side, I think as we saw in the cup final, Rangers can field an 11 with a couple of subs that do have what it takes to compete with Celtic. On that day, they couldn't beat them, obviously, but over the course of a season, the squad is just nowhere near the level that's required, and that's obviously going to be a longer term fix. It's something that they tried to address in the summer. It will take a bit of work in January, if possible, even though we know it's a really difficult window to do business in. It's going to be a bigger job come next summer, because there's still so many players within that squad, even some that have come in fairly recently, that you would easily move on and try and go in a different direction, because too many of them are just not at the level required.
Yep. Graham with the point says, Dill yesterday just baffled me. Why? Just why? Yeah, you and me both, Graham. I didn't understand that one. And if Rangers can manage to find a buyer for him in January, then that would be a good thing, because it's not going to work out at Rangers. There's a comment coming in from Magic Man. Thanks for the donation, buddy. Says, Lovelace, Royce, NCO, Curtis, can't be worse. Yep, there seems to be a reluctance to play the young boys by Clement. I know he touched on it at the AGM about the gap between the B team and the first team. Surely they can't be any worse than what's been served up at this moment in time. Chris, I would like to see some of those young lads getting a bit of an opportunity, but I very much doubt we'll see that on Thursday.
No, I don't think Thursday's the occasion for that. When you think how Ibrox could be on Thursday, as we touched on earlier on, when you think of how Celtic will approach it, I wouldn't be pitching a whole host of young guys in and saying go and handle that. It could go really well for Rangers. You might struggle to find someone on the comments that thinks it will go well for Rangers on Thursday, but I don't think that'll be the occasion. You see if there's a change of change of almost like the Ross McCausland situation. He benefited from a change of manager and then came into the squad. You may get a situation like that if there was a change in the boss, but I don't think it's going to happen under Clement. It's certainly not going to happen on Thursday. It will be that same core. If yesterday has told us anything, it's that we know, not that we needed it reaffirmed, but we know who the best Rangers players are for games. Igaman, obviously, Cherny, obviously, the likes of Dow and Dessers, and some of the other guys that came in yesterday, and that have come in of late, as I said there, nowhere near the level, not good enough, can't be pitched into Old Firm games. So I think that there are very, very few big decisions to make for the Old Firm game in terms of selection. I said the guys that started yesterday, they didn't exactly throw down the gauntlet and say, I deserve a Derby shirt, did they?
No, they did not. Let's talk about the defence, because that's all over the place. Now, I know there's injuries, Rangers down to the bare bones with regards to the back line. Jack Butland is a concern, Chris. He's not playing well. Had another ropey game, to say the least, yesterday. Quite fortunate with the goal that was ruled out by VAR that he punched into his own net. He just can't challenge goalkeepers in the modern day now. And back in the day, I don't see anything wrong with that goal. But they're a protected species now, the goalkeeper, and it's a foul in the modern day. I said on my predicted team that I would like to have seen Liam Kelly get a shout, but he wasn't dropping Jack Butland, given that he brought him back so soon after giving him time off for his partner to have his newborn baby. He got brought in for the St Mirren game, gave away, was culpable for the penalty when he came rushing out his box to try and compensate for Robin Propper's lack of pace, but took out the man and conceded a penalty. Yesterday, he was poor. I'm thinking Liam Kelly should be banging on that door of the manager's office, Chris, and demanding a starting spot, no?
I don't think he'll get it. I think it's Butland that will hold on to that jersey. I think his form has almost gone under the radar a wee bit this season, and not in a good sense. There are a number of issues also within the team, within the squad that we've spoken about over recent weeks and months on the show. He's not at the level that he was when he first came into the club. He's not at the level that Rangers need him to be at. You needed Jack Butland to be a standout performer this season. He has regressed quite a lot from that run of form that he put together when he first came into the club. He looked such a commanding presence, looked a really good bit of business. Since then, it's not quite fallen off a cliff, but it's regressed and it's gone backwards, and the form has just not been. The form wasn't there in the second half of that last season. It's certainly not been there in the opening stages of this season. It is an issue, but I don't see it being resolved by him being dropped. I think, as we touched on in the summer, Liam Kelly is there to be a Rangers number 2. He's not there to be a Rangers number 1. And with all respect to Liam, he's not a Rangers number 1. He's not at that level. He was brought in, I think he acknowledged that himself. He was brought in to do a job, and that job was to be a backup, to provide that backup to Butland, and to step in, like we saw at Ibrox, to step in as and when required. He's not the answer as Rangers number 1. Butland is a problem. His form is a problem, but so are those operating in front of him. The Rangers defence, that partnership between Sterling and Propper, it's obviously not the first choice one. You do have to have a bit of sympathy for Clement. He's been reduced almost to that in terms of that's the options he's got, but it's nowhere near good enough. And as I touched on earlier on, Celtic will be looking at that back four, looking at a goalkeeper that's now got frailties, and thinking we can definitely go and exploit that at Ibrox.
Yeah, John Suter's a massive miss as well. There's no doubt about it. Just on Butland, I said it before, I used to cover a lot of Stoke City back in the day when he was coming through, and he looked superb. Was in the England squads, and then picked up an injury, came back after a spell, and was very ropey. It was a real confidence thing with Jack, and he was prone to errors in matches, and this is what the Jack Butland I fear that Rangers have got at the moment. He's not in a good place, and the quicker he comes out that, the better. But I would certainly be considering Liam Kelly for the game on Thursday. I would trust him in goals. I think he's an able deputy. He wasn't captain and played so many games for Motherwell for a reason. I think he should be in with a shout of starting the game. John Scott with the point says, goalkeeper's only as good as his defence. I'd be a nervous wreck with them in front of me too. Yep, the defence is a major concern. Of that, there is no doubt. And remains to be seen if Leon Balogun can be past fit for the game on Thursday. But that back two pairing of Sterling and Proper doesn't fill many people with confidence, Chris.
No, not at all. It's obviously it's definitely makeshift. It's not as I said there. It's not the partnership that the manager would ever pick. It's not one that's anywhere near his first choice, but it's the one that he's got. It's the one that he has to try and get the best out of. And they have a very short turnaround now. They have to try and find a way of making that work. They need to find a way of looking more solid individually and collectively, because there was just so much wrong against St Mirren, so much wrong again on Sunday against Motherwell, and I said Rangers just so easy to play against, so easy to play through. The goals are lost, and the manager put them down to individual mistakes. And yes, there's individual mistakes in there, but there's structural mistakes that are allowing Motherwell to get into those positions so easily. So as you say, it's not a side, it's not a pairing that will fill Rangers fans with any form of optimism. And you look at Proper, and particularly again, you can not give Sterling a pass, but he's a full-back being asked to do a job in another area of the pitch. Robin Proper is someone who money was spent on in the summer, was brought in as the replacement for Connor Goldson, and has never looked comfortable, has never looked at the level, has spoken a couple of times about almost finding Rangers a bit alien in terms of the style of Scottish football, the style of the side, the demands that he's under. He just looks and feels like a guy that's in the wrong movie, and that's damning for those that brought him here. As much as you can have concerns over the performances and also huge concerns over the results, recruitment is still a huge issue for Rangers, and signings like Proper sum up so many mistakes. It's not the costliest mistake that Rangers have made, but it's going down as a mistake because, as I said there, he's never looked comfortable and never looked like being the centre half that Rangers needed him to be.
Yeah, Graham with the point says, said it yesterday, I'm 50 stone in age and I would have won more headers in that midfield and defence, was screaming at the TV. Imagine you were, Graham. You weren't the only one, by the way, at that as well. But problems galore in the Rangers backline. Whether that gets sorted for Thursday, who knows. Interesting, I wanted to bring this up. Bobby Madden has been speaking about another flashpoint in the game yesterday, Chris, and it was Lennon Miller's on Oscar Cortez as he looked to break away from the ball, and it was Chris Boyd, James McFadden on Sky saying he was a little bit lucky that he wasn't shown a red card for that. Bobby Madden on his Instagram account wrote, here you see the defender lunging over the ball and making contact on the ankle, and the turn of the ankle. This should be a VAR intervention and quite a straightforward red card for serious foul play. Chris Boyd said, I think Lennon Miller is a little bit lucky here. You can understand he goes over the top of him, but he does catch Oscar Cortez on the ankle there. I think he is very lucky. Motherwell got away with one there, Chris.
When I first saw it live, I didn't think there was a lot in it. Saw a quick replay looking over someone's shoulder that had the game on the iPad, and at first look again, didn't think there was much in it. I've seen it again since, and I have to agree with Bobby Madden and Chris Boyd there. I think Lennon Miller probably got away with one. I know Stuart Kettlewell was quite strong on it in his post-match press conference. He doesn't buy into that theory, but he certainly caught Cortez, and I think it could have been a different outcome. Ironically, then Kettlewell then gets booked for that incident and ends up getting sent off himself. Yeah. He spoke at length in the presser yesterday about that incident, his sending off, and also about the Butland Tony Watt incident as well. I think, as you said earlier on, goalkeepers are that protected these days. It's not a surprise that goal was chopped out. So I think the VAR got that one right. Slightly surprised that there wasn't more of a look at the Miller one and more of a different outcome in that one.
Right, let's move on. There's some other points I wanted to bring up. Of course, lots of news surrounding Rangers. Before we go back to what the future now holds for Clement, a bit of news on the website this morning. Off the pitch, Chris, and Rangers looking to appoint the former Man United and SFA Communications Chief Greg Mailer to oversee their public relations department. He's currently at Brentford and working on a deal that will see him return north of the border in April. So certainly someone that Patrick Stewart will know.
Yes, he also worked with him at Old Trafford, and Greg's a well-kent face, as they say in Scottish football circles. Has worked for Hibs on a couple of occasions. Had that time at the SFA, and as you say there, he's currently at Brentford. So he will move back up to Scotland in April, and currently working through his notice period down there. He'll come back up to Scottish football. He'll head up the comms and the PR department there, and I think it's just another sign of, or another piece of the Patrick Stewart jigsaw, I feel like. As I mentioned in that piece this morning, he also has made the appointment in the commercial department. Sean Jefferson coming in after we broke the story a couple of weeks ago about Karim Varane moving on from the club. So it's an example, I think, of Patrick coming in and looking at every area of the club, looking at where improvements can be made, looking at where extra bodies are required, looking at where improvement is required, and he's right to go through every one of these areas. Also, the focus is always on who's in the dugout and who's on the pitch, but he's been given that scope as chief exec to go and run Rangers his way, to go and make appointments in his to make appointments as he sees fit. So I don't think this will be the last of these off-field appointments. Rangers, I say, they always have to strive to be the best in every single area, and if he feels that this is a move that will take Rangers up a level, then he's also quite entitled to go and do it. So interesting to see how this one works out. But I say full details are in that story that we have on the site this morning.
Yeah, go and have a read of it, folks. CGM55 says, can you play centre half, Derek? Maybe he can. Who knows? But we've discussed those issues in the back line. I'd imagine for Thursday that Czerny and Igaman start, whether the sports science guys say that they're not ready to play or not, they'll be starting surely in that game. What does the future hold now for Clement, Chris? Because as we touched on earlier, even if he wins this game on Thursday, I don't think it makes a great deal of difference with regards to the feeling from the fan base about him as Rangers manager. We all thought that after that Dundee United draw that things had began to look promising. There was an upturn in form. They had started to score goals, Rangers, and they looked much better on the eye. But these last two games, they've gone back to square one and then some. And his future looks bleak for me. I'm not entirely sure if I would trust him at the helm with regards to the January window. I know he keeps talking about a rebuild, but no Rangers manager can be sitting 14 points behind Celtic at this stage of the season, with the possibility of going 17 behind before the turn of the year. How's it going to unfold here?
You mentioned the January window there. I think it'd be really interesting to see how Rangers handle that window now. If there's money there to be spent, they cannot allow Philippe Clement to have a deciding say in how that is spent. That would be monumentally silly to say to a manager who's under such pressure, who's lost such a large percentage of the fans, to say there's some money, go and spend it, try and improve this squad. I think Rangers, regardless of who the manager is, they have to sign a centre half. They have to try and strengthen that area of the side. Apart from that, I would be surprised to see them do too much. If we can go through the next kind of phase of reducing the wage bill and moving on some of the unwanted players, likes of Dowell, likes of Lawrence, likes of Dessers. If these type of guys can be moved on, that would also free up wages. You could then maybe give that to the manager to say you can get a couple of loans in. Rangers can't go and commit fees to players who they don't know who the manager will be. There is such huge doubt over the manager situation now. I saw a comment on the show earlier on, actually, the referencing the feeling at the start of the season of Rangers can't afford to keep sacking managers. That's true, but that doesn't mean to say that you stick with a manager who's clearly not going to be the answer.
Well, it's worse. It's worse than when Beale Gio get sacked. I mean, it's gone way beyond that now.
That theory of we can't keep sacking managers. Well, the answer to that is appoint a good one. Appoint one who's going to win you cups. Appoint one who's going to win you leagues. Appoint one who's going to be able to beat Celtic. Appoint one who's going to be able to improve players. All of those things are now stacked up against Philippe Clement. And as I said right at the top of the show, I think we all know the title of the show is What Next. I think we all know what next is going to be. It's a matter of when. It's not going to be turned around. I thought the reaction at half time and at the end of the game was quite telling.
Yeah,
it wasn't really that angry. It was more not quite a shrug of the shoulders. Not that people. It's not that people don't care. I think people are just resigned to it now. No one on the back of Thursday went into that game thinking this is going to be so much different, so much better. This is going to be the catalyst for Rangers. It is just people are just, now you say fed up. People are just scunnered by being in this cycle. I think as we've touched on earlier on in the season, you have to applaud the Rangers fans for everything that they've done over recent seasons. The backing they continue to give the club, the money they continue to put into the club. They've done their bit. They are entitled to demand and expect and be rewarded with better. And that as it stands is not Philippe Clement as Rangers manager. If it is, something has to change and something drastic has to change very, very quickly. Is that going to change? If someone can provide a case to suggest that it is going to change, that he is going to be the Rangers manager to win the next title, I'd love to hear it. People would love a chance to buy into it. Those points, those positives, they're just not there right now.
Yeah, it's difficult as well. I mean, Celtic are having a really good season themselves, but again, I hark back to the home form is good. The away form is utterly disastrous. It's okay losing it at Parkhead. Can all accept that given the challenge that Celtic pose to Rangers, but it's just so many times Rangers go to these venues like yesterday and slip up, and it's happening all too often, and he's failing to find a solution to it. So, like you, Chris, I think we may see attendances dwindle away. I'd imagine Thursday will be pretty much a full house there or thereabouts, given the game, the fixture that it is. But then going into January time, if he's still at the helm, I struggle to see how it's going to pick up really and what those attendances will be if he's continued to remain in position and stumble upon each and every game where it seems to be a little bit of a reaction and then falling at a hurdle which is not far down the line. So who knows what the future is going to hold, but he's still Rangers manager as we speak, building up to that game on Thursday. A few points to wrap up before we call time on today's show. Billy says, are you boys on New Year's Day or are you too tired? We are going against sports science advice, and I think we're going to record a show, Billy. So like the Christmas Day show that me and Johnny recorded, it went down quite well with you guys that it tuned in on Christmas Day. So we'll look to record a show that will go out on New Year's Day. So we'll have you covered if you are at a loose end. Big shout out as well to what's that?
For the record, I'm only going to do half of it. I'm not doing the full thing.
Big shout out to John, who's tuning in on Instagram Live. He says, watching from the sun in Fuerteventura. Big man, yeah, rubbing it in there, John, but hopefully you have a good New Year, buddy. Right, that'll do us there. Big thank you to Chris, as ever. Thank you to you all for tuning in to the show. We will be back again tomorrow morning, so at 9:30, so join us again there. As Chris says, lots on the website just now. There's lots on the YouTube channel as well. If you can stomach the reaction from yesterday's game, as Chris said earlier on, the James Tavernier presser will be released at 12 noon. If you can, if you, I'm going to say if you can look forward to that, but you can go and watch that if you wish. But we'll wrap up there. Thank you to you all, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.